So we just got done talking to Dan Conant from Holler, doing a 1,000 different things, all solar in West Virginia. And I found his story very inspiring, the way he's connecting nonprofits and schools and residential customers to, in a lot of ways, build the entirety of the solar market in West Virginia.
Yeah, I really wanted to bring Dan into the studio today because his story is so unique. He's an innovator, a true innovator, an academic, super sharp. And when you come from and build a business in a rural state like West Virginia, the impact that can have on the local community is so intense. Everybody associates coal with West Virginia. I didn't realize, but it makes a ton of sense. Timber was the first industry, then coal, then gas. Now renewable energy has a really important role to play in creating jobs, creating clean energy opportunities. And his story is just super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, West Virginia has powered the United States for 250 years, and Dan's helping keep that story going.
Yeah. So tune in. We wanted to bring you in today to talk about your innovative thinking on how to create something out of nothing in the renewable energy space. So wondering if you could maybe start from scratch. Tell us about what you built in West Virginia and what the sort of genesis of that project was.
Yeah, so these days, Holler is the biggest developer and installer in West Virginia and really central Appalachia. But we've been going at it for 12 years. And when we started, there wasn't an industry in Appalachia. Just no one was doing this. I think just a handful of people had ever installed a system. And it's been really fun over the years seeing how we could build an industry from scratch. And it's not just the installation; it's also the financing and having to teach the inspectors how to inspect systems, how to finance these systems, how to really just bring solar to a place that everyone told me was crazy to even try because it's coal country. And but yeah, these days we're installing over 500 projects a year, and it's a really cool mix of not just families, but churches and schools. We're covering entire county school districts in the southern coal fields, working with nonprofits of every kind. And so tons of residential projects, but the ones that really make me happy and bring me joy are the school projects.
And what makes Holler different than another solar company?
Yeah, a bunch of things, not just the geography, but also we're a unionized solar shop. We were one of the first, to my knowledge, anywhere east of Mississippi. And, most of the unionized shops that I've heard about are really focused on utility scale. And what we wanted to do was bring our folks in to the union. West Virginia birthed the labor movement. We actually had wars in West Virginia. We're one of the only places to ever get bombed by the federal government back in the 1920s over when coal miners decided that they had enough and needed the right to organize. So just because we're changing energy sources, I really didn't want to turn our back on the entire labor movement. And so we went out of our way 5 years ago to join up with the IBEW, as well as the Carpenters Union, brought all our folks in. In addition to that, we do some really cool apprenticeship programs where we are working with Wayne County schools in southern West Virginia. We bring in seniors in the VOTEC track and put them through our apprenticeship program where they're actually installing on their own schools. And it's this really important, it's a really important fork in someone's life when you're at the end of high school, especially in West Virginia, where we've been losing population since World War II. We're the only state that's done that. The rest of the country has tripled in size, and people just keep leaving West Virginia.
We call that the brain drain in some parts of the world.
Yeah. So you're at this really important fork in the road where you can either move away to go to Pittsburgh or Columbus or Richmond or wherever, or you can stay home. And so far, we've had about 30 kids go through this program over the last couple of years, and we've had 40% sign on full time at the end of their senior year apprenticeship to stay in the industry. So between all the labor stuff and apprenticeship stuff, that sets us apart. The other cool things we do we're vertically integrated. So all of our people, even though they're union members, they're full W-2 employees. We don't sub out our work. We also set up our own asset ownership company so that we're doing PPAs on schools and actually selling the power. And part of the mindset behind that is we didn't want to just build the industry. We also want to keep the wealth in West Virginia. Basically, we've been a colony for the rest of the country for the last 250 years, and all the wealth has gotten stripped out. First, it was timber, and then timber for charcoal, and then coal, and then gas, and we basically got left with scraps. And so, what we're trying to do now that we've got this opportunity to do it right for the first time, or from the start, is to build these projects and actually own them in West Virginia, and keep the profits locally to help redevelop the entire state.
Yeah, that's super
awesome.
cool. I'm fascinated as somebody who grew up in actually both Seth and I grew up in the Dakotas. I grew up in North Dakota. Seth grew up in South Dakota. And when you grow up in a place like that, and in West Virginia, people pull their bootstrap up every day and they go to work. They learn something new if they need to get a new job. What your company does in West Virginia strikes me as having huge local economic community impact. Is there anything you could indicate to us about the bright light that your company is in a situation when industry is, like you said, transitioning from timber to coal and coal to gas and gas to renewables?
Yeah,
How is that?
Is that sort of the natural genesis that you can see? Is the community see that as sort of the logical next step in, been an energy powerhouse for 50 years? Is solar the next step? Do community members see that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of opinions on it, and you get some that are never ever, and I'd say the biggest group of folks are really focused on just making sure that towns survive and that our communities survive. And at least the way we've been talking about it for the last 12 years, and I think it did strike a chord, is that we've always been the state that powers the rest of the country, and we're going to keep doing that. We're just using some panels instead of lumps of coal to do it. It's been exciting to see. As far as the economic impact, we've brought, since the IRA passed, we've brought in over $100 million worth of investment into the state, which, that's like on the scale of factories, like major factories. It just so happens that we're building all these little power plants on people's rooftops instead of putting it all into one factory. We've got over 100 folks on our team now. And in Huntington, West Virginia, where our main warehouse is, we've got over 50 employees there. But post-COVID times and everything, we've gone remote as a team so that people can stay in their hometowns. And so people are spread out across the state, and with as well as some in Kentucky and Ohio. And but it's really cool that people can. We're not just bringing all the jobs to a city. It's towns of a couple hundred or a couple thousand people as well.
Yeah, distributed energy, distributed impact. That sounds awesome.
Distributed jobs.
So tell us a little bit about the sort of genesis of Solar Holler as an organization. How did you get started building solar in coal country?
Yeah, so I, like every kid in West Virginia, I dreamed of getting out. So born and raised in this town of 300 people, but I wasn't even in town. I was out in the woods. So went away for college to study energy and environmental policy, and started bouncing around the country after school, working in the solar industry. So my entire 40 now, but my entire career has been in energy and solar. Circa 2013, I really wanted to move back home to kickstart the industry here. And like I said, at that point, it was a completely open playing field. Nothing had been done in the state. And so we set out to build the industry from scratch by starting with nonprofits. So it wasn't enough to do it in a really hard place. We also wanted to take on the projects that were just mind-bending. And so we started out with my hometown church. And I attempted to do the first power purchase agreement in the state. Got shut down by the Public Service Commission for violating the utilities monopoly on selling power. And with that, we lost access to all the tax credits, all the USDA grants that businesses could get, but a nonprofit, the only way you could access it for a nonprofit was through a PPA.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd already quit my job. I needed to figure something out. My entire business model was in shambles. So we went out and built one of the first virtual power plants in the country, and used a crowdfunding mechanism to pay for solar on churches and homeless shelters. We did that by, I convinced 100 people, 100 of my neighbors, to let me install a little remote control on their water heater. And we started day trading water heaters into the regional power grid, just on off every 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
And the money we were taking away from the coal and gas guys through the PJM marketplace, we put into a fund to give away solar to nonprofits all over the state.
Dan, this is why we wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'm never going to be as smart as you are. I love that so much.
And just finding the little niche elements of, especially prior to now VPPs, we consider there's a lot of them all throughout the country, but starting from, hey, we want to try this in a really small, former coal country. And also we're going to do it by financing it by, changing, load pulls from the PJM market. Like that's such a unique financing mechanism to do something that was already unique in the first place. So the chain sounds just astounding there. I can't even imagine the logistical elements of financing that.
Yeah, so convincing some angel investors to put up money to you're going to do what with my water heater? And so this was back in 2013, 2014. Mm-hmm. And in 2014, we cut the ribbon on this project. We had 150 people, 150 members of the church come out on a Tuesday morning to cut the ribbon, and then within a couple days, we had gotten flooded by hundreds of nonprofits across the state who all wanted to go solar.
Oh, wow!
And
I love that.
We didn't have the workforce because who had done this before.
Yeah.
So that was the next challenge. And so we worked with an awesome group out of Huntington called Coalfield Development that was doing job training for kids of coal miners, where they were going out and tearing down dilapidated buildings, recycling the wood to sell to the Pottery Barns of the world in furniture form, and then and using that to pay for college and training for kids from the coal fields. So I started working with them and cross-training their crew members into solar installers. And so that's what I did for the next couple of years. We were kind of going around doing all these nonprofit projects using and sending labor dollars back into the coal towns that were getting just hammered by mine closures. And then some people started asking me hey, you did solar on my church. Will you do it on my house? I'm like, I hadn't really thought about that, but sure. And and it just kind of mushroomed from there. And so here we are 12 years later, just building lots of stuff.
Yeah. What strikes me about that story is just how many different individuals and organizations you kind of need all working together in order to make this happen. Have you seen the sort of network for solar in West Virginia grow pretty considerably over the time you've been working there?
Honestly, it's still pretty much us. But no, we have a ton of really good partners on the nonprofit side, on the financing side, on the labor side. So it does, we like to say it takes all kinds to pull these projects off. And I think one of the interesting things is when people think of solar jobs, they're always thinking of the people on the rooftops. But there's a lot of other people that go into making these projects happen. So, for instance, we have an awesome design team. We've only ever had one project that actually produced less than what we told the homeowner, because we're just really, really good at our modeling work. But when we're hiring for those positions, I actually ask people to bring in their Minecraft portfolios, because I figure if you can build a 3D world in Minecraft, you can build a 3D home. And so they do amazing work. We've got the project managers, the finance people, the regulatory folks, the marketing people, and it really does take all kinds. And I think that's been really special to see over the years.
Yeah. Can we talk for a second, go back to the $100 million worth of investment and, scaling that you did? And now fast forward all the way to June when HR 1 is passed on July 4th. Tell us a little something about how that impacts your business model.
I think the most frustrating thing about that was just the speed and the lack of consideration for business planning cycles. I'm really glad we got the extensions on leasing and commercial credits, and that'll be huge for us. But yeah, I think the lack of thought and consideration, or even just pure hatred going into that was a little frustrating, to say the least. But yeah, going forward, I think we're adjusting. We've already sold out through the end of the year. We're actually selling into the post ITC world for homeowners, and
great,
it's going well. Honestly, one of the things that I'm actually really excited about is at least in my state, very few people could actually take the tax credits. You had to be in the top 10% of income to take all the tax credits in year one. And so you need,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you needed,
because of the liability?
Yeah, because you couldn't, it wasn't refundable. So you couldn't go below zero. For an average size solar system, you needed a household income of 110 grand to actually pull that off. In our state, the median income is 45,000 per family. And so, you just ended up circling a lot and explaining a lot. And then people would get excited and then go and say like, oh crap, I can't actually get this. And we just, in a weird way, we just made everything a whole lot simpler. And I think it should be a lot easier to pull projects off, or just a lot easier to sell projects now when you're not having to do all that spinning.
You're not the first person to say that. And I'm glad to hear it. Of course, it's been a dramatic year, but we're going to be okay, and on the resi side and on the community solar side, we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to do the work and evolve where we need to.
And it's interesting to hear about companies like yours that are doing it not just on the resi side, but with nonprofits, with schools. The fact that you're still getting projects to pencil even post HR 1 world is fascinating and really optimistic to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and we're also close by to the center of the internet in Northern Virginia, and so we're seeing capacity prices skyrocket. We're seeing demand and prices for electricity go through the roof, and that's not stopping anytime soon. So I think no homeowner ever went into the process looking for solar in order to get a tax credit. They always just want to save money on their utility bills or have power when the wind blows and power goes out. And so, yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Great.
I want to ask one more thing about the politics. You had talked when we were talking earlier about how you get folks who have dedicated their lives or their livelihoods to a coal industry that is slowly moving out. How you get to update opinions and changes. Have you seen the sort of politics of energy in West Virginia change recently or over the course of your tenure?
We have seen it shift, and I think it's because the economy is a whole lot bigger than energy. And if you want tech companies coming in, if you want data centers coming in, if you want a 21st century economy, you need renewable energy. And so the Berkshire Hathaways of the world and Amazons of the world were continuously telling the former governor's administration that, if you want us to locate in West Virginia, if you want us to bring these jobs to West Virginia, you've got to give us renewable energy or else we're not going to come at all. And so probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we saw this real shift in how the state was talking about it, and it became much more of an all of the above strategy. But all that said, West Virginians have given everything over the last 250 years to power the rest of the country, and I think it's really important as an industry that we don't forget those sacrifices that people made, and don't talk down about the coal industry and the people who have given their limbs and their lives and their lungs for us. And don't forget the places that provided all that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's no arguing the role that coal has played in building the foundation of our country, building the foundation of our economic society. So I 100% agree with you. We've got about 3 minutes left, and we can't let you go without you talking a little bit about what you're doing at RE Plus.
Okay.
What do you do here? What do you think of the show? And what are you looking to accomplish while you're here?
Well, I've been coming for 12 years, and so I got made a lot of friends over the years. So it's always a family reunion, which is really cool. But besides that, I just geek out over software and the latest tech, and we're constantly looking for new ways to bring savings to homeowners. So, and that's going to be at every part of the life cycle. So our team is out here just looking for whatever that cool killer app is, or new battery, or like even the widgets that go into racking and railing systems can have a really big impact on the end cost of the customer. And so yeah, we're just always looking for those latest innovations, and it's awesome to see so many people are still out here. What are we at, like 40,000 people or something?
Yeah, at least. I love to hear it. The show is high energy. Is there anything else at all you want to cover that you'd want to make sure that our listeners hear while we've got you?
For anyone who was wondering what Holler means, it's not holla. It's a really tiny little mountain valley. So in West Virginia, we all identify by which holler we grew up in. And so
yes.
Very important.
Do you want to shout out your holler, your hometown holler?
I grew up in Shannondale outside of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, just in a 7-mile long holler.
Love it.
Love it.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks.